Hi, I'm Caleb, 27, and my last birthday gift from my parents was a $200 tent. The kind you'd maybe take to a weekend festival if you weren't expecting rain, wind, or, basic respect. Meanwhile, they gave my brother a $40,000 down payment on a house and told me to be happy with memories. So I cut contact and left without a word. I didn't even unzip the tent. It was still in the box when I packed it, wedged awkwardly between a cracked external monitor and the blender they'd handed down when my brother got a Vitamix. I was standing in the garage at 11 p.m., one eye on the motion light and the other on the beat-up Corolla I'd parked 2 blocks away to avoid setting off suspicion. This wasn't a blow-up. It was a quiet click. The kind of decision that snaps into place like a puzzle piece you've been staring at for years. I'd grown up thinking my family was balanced. Not perfect, just one of those Midwest setups where you measure love in packed lunches and scheduled oil changes. But that illusion cracked when Josh, my older brother, got engaged. It wasn't the engagement. It was the house. Your father and I decided to help Josh get settled, my mom said one night over pasta. A real starter place. Near good schools. I thought they meant furniture. Maybe helping with a security deposit. Then she said the number. 40,000. She said like she was ordering dessert. We pulled from the retirement account. He's responsible. Deserves it. I blinked. Fork halfway to my mouth. Wait, you gave him 40 grand? My dad looked up from his plate like I'd interrupted a radio show. It's not a contest, Caleb. He's just further along. Marriage. Kids. The usual path. I was 27. Single. Living in a rented 1-bedroom. No pets. No drama. I paid my own bills. Called every Sunday. Fixed their router when it glitched. Picked them up from the airport twice last year. And somehow, Josh was the responsible one. Your turn will come, my mom said with a thin smile. You just need to figure yourself out a little more. That was in March. By July, Josh had his house, beige vinyl, 3BR, tiny deck with a new Weber grill I helped assemble, and I got a birthday card with a tent inside it. Literally. A box with a bow. For your adventures, the card said. My adventures were commuting to a desk job and taking my laundry to a building with 6 broken dryers. They watched me open it with hopeful eyes, like I'd burst into tears of gratitude. I smiled. Said thank you. Ate the homemade cake. Cleaned up. And then I went home. 3 days later, I started packing. Not out of rage. Out of clarity. See, the thing about favoritism isn't the money. It's the math. It's realizing how many times you called and weren't heard. Showed up and weren't seen. It's realizing they knew what you needed, and chose to give it to someone else. So I made a plan. Quietly. Deliberately. And on a Friday night I left. No note. No scene. Just me, a Corolla full of boxed-up silence, and a future no one else gets to script. I drove 6 hours west with the tent rattling in the backseat like a punchline. No destination, not really. Just distance. I didn't want to land in someone's guest room and explain myself. I didn't want. Are you okay? Texts or well-meaning cousins suggesting I just talk it out. I wanted out. So I found a short-term rental above a mechanic shop in a tiny college town where no one knew my name. The windows shook every time someone hit the brakes too late at the intersection. Perfect. I got a job bartending 2 nights a week and picked up freelance design gigs during the day. Low expectations, fast Wi-Fi, and exactly 0 people asking when I'd settled down. I didn't tell anyone where I was, except Claire. Claire was my cousin on my mom's side. Technically family, but spiritually a co-conspirator since the year we both faked stomachaches to avoid Uncle Ben's political rants at Thanksgiving. She called 2 weeks after I vanished. Did you join a cult? She asked. Only if it worships silence, microwavable hash browns, and no passive-aggressive group texts. Sounds like heaven. You okay? I think so. You want me to tell them you're safe? I hesitated. Not yet. Because safe wasn't the point. Scene was. What do you do when the people who raised you don't actually see you? You leave. You become someone they can't ignore anymore. Claire respected that. She sent me memes. Never asked when I was coming back. Meanwhile, the texts from my parents piled up. Mom. Hey sweetie. Haven't heard from you. Hope the tent fits okay in your car. Dad. Let us know if you're still coming to Josh's barbecue next weekend. Mom, later. Caleb, it's been a week. We're worried. Please call. Then nothing. Then guilt. Then, finally, a group email. Subject line, update on the family trust. That got my attention. Turns out, Josh was officially added as a secondary signatory. For future estate planning reasons. They CC'd me. For transparency. Said it was easier this way. Easier for who? The translation was obvious. Josh had the keys now. The house. The trust. The Golden Sun discount code for being on the right track. I read the email 3 times. Then I opened a new document and wrote one sentence. I'm no longer available for this version of family. I didn't send it. But I saved it. That night, I finally unboxed the tent, not to camp, just to understand what they thought I'd do with it. It was cheap. One of those 3-season domes that leaks in drizzle and snaps in a gust. I sat inside it for 10 minutes on the floor of my rental, just me and the quiet, thinking about all the things I'd swallowed over the years, and how strange it was that a $200 polyester dome was the thing that finally made me say, enough. The turning point came on a Tuesday. I was behind the bar, mixing a lazy gin and tonic for some grad student complaining about his advisor, when my phone buzzed, not a text, but a PayPal notification. You've received $200 from Mom and Dad. No message. No subject. Just the exact price of the tent. I stared at the screen like it had insulted me personally. Because, in a way, it had. It wasn't an apology. It was accounting. Like they'd read the silence not as hurt, but as a missed invoice. Here you go, kid. Here's your little reimbursement. All squared up now, right? I didn't respond. The next day, Claire texted me a screenshot from Facebook. Josh had posted a photo of the new nursery. Pale blue walls. Crib with nautical sheets. A wall decal that said, Adventure awaits. The caption? Can't wait to bring our little guy home. So grateful to Mom and Dad for everything. I scrolled through the comments. My mom had replied with a string of heart emojis and, we're just so proud of you too. This is what family is all about. That one word, family, hit like a slap. Because I used to think that word meant belonging. Now it felt more like a brand. A product I'd been quietly dropped from. That night, I did something stupid. I Venmo requested my mom. $1.00. Caption. For every time I fixed your printer without being offered dinner. Then I added $5.00. Gas money from picking you up from the airport in January. $40.00. That time I replaced the disposal in your sink with my own tools. $115.00. For not screaming when you gave Josh a whole house and me a hiking tarp from Costco. I hit send. Public. By morning it had likes. Claire texted, You're insane. I replied, Maybe. But the floodgates had opened. Because it turns out, family has a ledger. And once I started keeping score, it became painfully obvious who'd been compounding interest on emotional labor while someone else just showed up with a smile and got a mortgage. Later that week, I got a reply. Mom, this is cruel and beneath you. I didn't answer. Because no, what was cruel was pretending it was equal when it never had been. What was beneath me was thinking a tent meant anything close to home. I closed the Venmo app. Shut my laptop. Took a walk around the block. It was cloudy, damp, a little too cold for comfort, but at least I wasn't pretending. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like someone's disappointment. I felt like someone free. 3 days of silence. Then a message from Josh. No. Hey. No greeting. Just this. You really think you're the only one who's had it rough? Try growing up with the pressure of being the one who didn't screw up. I laughed. Like full-on, shoulders shaking, startled the cat kind of laugh. Josh, the homeowner, trust signatory, baby on the way golden retriever of a son, wanted to talk about pressure? I was still living in a shoebox over a break shop, eating discount frozen dumplings and scrolling freelance gigs that paid in exposure. But sure, let's talk about your cross to bear. Still, I didn't reply. Not because I was being noble, but because I finally understood something. They wanted a reaction. Not resolution. Not reflection. Just proof I was still orbiting their gravitational pull. Instead, I gave them silence. And silence works. Because on Sunday, I got a call. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. It was my mom. Her voice had that rehearsed softness she used on customer service reps and neighbors she didn't like but needed favors from. Caleb, I think this has gone too far. We're family. You made your point. Maybe it wasn't always equal, but we've always loved you. This is getting embarrassing. For everyone. There it was. That final word, embarrassing. Not hurtful. Not unfair. Just bad optics. I could hear the real concern, not that I'd been alienated, but that I'd gone off script. See, families like ours thrive on the unspoken. Traditions. Politeness. Birthday texts with the right number of exclamation marks. The expectation that no one will ever say, "This isn't working for me." So I did something unthinkable. I sent a mass email. Subject: stepping away. I kept it short. This isn't revenge. This is a boundary. I've spent a lot of years making things easy for other people. Explaining away slights. Showing up when it hurt. I'm done performing closeness for the sake of decorum. I love you. But I'm stepping away from the version of family where I'm treated like a spare tire. Please don't contact me unless it's about doing things differently. I didn't sign it with love. Just my name. I hit send. Closed my laptop. And waited. Not for responses. I knew those would come. But for the feeling in my chest, a strange, unfamiliar stillness. Not relief, not triumph. Just space. Like I'd finally stopped holding my breath in a room I didn't realize was full of smoke. They didn't reply. Not directly anyway. But the replies came. Claire texted me a screenshot from the extended family group chat, the one I'd never been in, but where my name got tossed around like an urban legend. Aunt Lynn. I always thought Caleb was sensitive. Uncle Gary. You don't see Josh pulling stunts like this. He's a father now. My mom. This is what happens when you coddle feelings over facts. No one asked where I was? Or why? They just diagnosed my absence like a car that wouldn't start. Claire, God bless her, replied with a single message. Maybe he left because he finally realized the gas tank was always empty on his side. No one responded after that. That night, I went for a walk and wound up in a bookstore that smelled like ink and rainy carpet. There was a journal display near the counter. One had a cover that read, "Some stories need distance to make sense." I bought it. Started writing the things I never said. Not to send. Just to see what they looked like outside my chest. Things like, I didn't want the house. I wanted to be wanted. I stopped asking for help the day you called me dramatic for crying when Josh smashed my guitar. I'm not broken. I just got tired of patching holes no one else would admit were there. Meanwhile, the world kept turning. My work got better. I got better. I stopped flinching at the sound of email notifications. Stopped apologizing in every sentence. Started sleeping more than 4 hours a night. At one point, I caught myself smiling while eating dinner, and couldn't remember the last time that happened without someone performing across the table. I didn't miss them. Not like before. What I missed was the idea of them. The fantasy I used to carry like a lucky coin in my pocket, that one day they'd sit me down and say, "We got it wrong. You were always enough." But fantasies are heavy. I was finally learning how to walk without them. The confrontation came wrapped in khakis and cologne. Josh showed up. I didn't even know how he found me, probably Claire, probably guilt, but there he was, standing outside the bar after my shift, looking like a man who'd rehearsed an apology and accidentally memorized a TED Talk instead. "Can we talk?" he asked. I nodded. Mostly out of curiosity. We walked to the parking lot, past rows of dusty Hondas and cracked pavement. The sky was low and gray, like even the weather didn't want to pick sides. Josh leaned against my Corolla, The same one I'd packed my life in 2 weeks ago, and exhaled hard. Look, I don't know what you want from us. I almost laughed. From us. Like I'd filed a customer complaint. I don't want anything, I said. That's kind of the point. He nodded, jaw clenched. They're upset. Mom cries every time your name comes up. I shrugged. She cried when I missed Easter 2 years ago because I had food poisoning. Josh looked at me. Really looked. Why didn't you just say something? I did. You just thought I was being difficult. No, he said slowly. I thought you were being you. And there it was. The whole thesis. I wasn't a person. I was a role. The complicated one. The one with feelings. The one who was always almost getting it together, but not quite enough to earn equity in the family business of praise. I didn't yell. I just asked, do you even remember what you got me for graduation? Josh blinked. What? I remember what you got, a car. A whole sedan. Mom cried handing you the keys. Dad hugged you like you invented fire. And me? I said. I got a handshake and a Barnes & Noble gift card with proud of you, written on the sleeve. Josh frowned. They were in a different place back then. Josh. That was 3 years ago. He went quiet. I could see the math happening in his head. All the years he thought we were close. All the hand-me-down moments he assumed landed gently. I didn't know, he said finally. I believe you, I replied. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. We stood there in silence for a long minute. Then Josh asked, Are you coming back? To what? He didn't answer. I nodded, got in my car, and drove away. No drama, no hug, no breakthrough. Just a slow turn of the wheel and a line in the dirt that said, Not this time. The next call came from my dad. Not a voicemail. Not a, How are you? A calendar invite. Subject, Family check-in. Location Zoom. Time, Sunday at 5 p.m. I stared at it like it might bite. Because this was not my dad's style. He was a firm believer in 3 types of communication: lectures, silence, and dad grunts. A scheduled conversation? That was new. I almost declined. But curiosity is louder than pride. So Sunday evening, I sat on the floor of my rental, laptop on a milk crate, and clicked join. There they were, Mom, tight smile and freshly applied lipstick, Dad, arms crossed like this was a deposition, and Josh, looking like he'd been voluntold. Mom spoke first. We wanted to open a line of communication. I sipped my tea. Is that what this is? Josh jumped in. I told them what you said. About the graduation. The gift card. My dad cut in. This isn't about stuff. It's about how you took it. The how I took it. Dad, I said, calm as I could manage, you gave my brother a down payment and me a tent. Then told me to be happy with memories. I didn't take that wrong. I took that literally. He shifted, clearly uncomfortable. Josh was in a different stage. And I was in a different place. Just not when you thought mattered. Mom's eyes welled. That's not fair. I let the silence sit. It itched. I know you loved me, I said. But you loved me less out loud. That's not bitterness. That's observation. They didn't argue. For once. Finally, Josh said it. What do you want from us? I shook my head. Nothing. You could have heard the Zoom call exhale. Not an apology. Not a check. Not retroactive cake. Just space. I'm building something else. Something quieter. Something mine. But we're your family. My mom whispered. And that used to be enough. Click. I logged off. Not in rage. In release. Because the truth was, I didn't want to drag them into a confession circle. I wasn't here to turn grief into a performance. I just wanted the volume turned down. And now, finally, it was. I didn't hear from them again after that call. No emails. No messages. No random forwarded memes from Mom with cat illustrations and the phrase, "Thinking of you," which had always been her digital way of saying, "Please stop being mad." The silence wasn't cold. It was clean. It felt like closing a window that had been stuck open for years, letting the noise of someone else's expectations howl through your life. And in that quiet, I started living. Not big, not dramatic. Just living. I took on more freelance clients. One of them, a community arts nonprofit, ended up asking if I'd consider joining full-time. I said yes. The job paid modestly, but I walked home every day without a stress migraine and fell asleep not hating tomorrow. I made real friends. Not ones tied to family functions or hometown loyalty, but people who liked my weird dry jokes and didn't flinch when I went quiet mid-sentence to chase a thought. I got a library card. Started cooking again. Bought a second-hand bike that squeaked like an old swing and didn't care. And the tent? I donated it to a women's shelter that kept a stash of emergency supplies for families starting over. The woman behind the desk looked at the box, smiled, and said, "Oh, this'll help someone." She didn't know how right she was. Because giving it away felt like giving back all the second-hand affection I'd been handed with a ribbon and told was love. I didn't need it anymore. I had something better. Myself. Then one afternoon, 6 months after I left, I got a letter. A real one. Envelope. Stamp. My name in my mother's handwriting. Inside, a folded piece of notepaper. No Hallmark branding. Just this. Caleb. We read your email again. And watched the Zoom replay twice. Yes, your dad figured out how to record. You were right. You've always been right, we just weren't ready to hear it. We confused quiet with resilience. We assumed you were okay because you didn't ask for more. Because you didn't make us uncomfortable. Because you smiled through things that would have wrecked someone else. That wasn't fair. We thought love was enough. That it made up for the imbalance. But love isn't enough if it can't see where it's falling short. We're sorry. Not for the tent. Well, maybe a little for the tent. But for the years before it. For making you feel like support was something you had to earn. We want to do better. Not to fix what we broke, but to show you we finally see it. No expectations. Just a standing offer. When you're ready, we'd like to meet the version of you that no one else got to know, the one you protected so well you had to leave us to find him. We'll be here. No rush. No pressure. No judgment. Love. Mom. And Dad. P.S. Your cousin Claire says hi. And she's a brat for not telling us where you were. I reread it twice. Then folded it up, slid it into a book I was halfway through, and didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't appreciate it. But because healing, real healing, isn't a 10-minute call or a Facebook post or a family Zoom where someone cries and everyone pretends that's closure. It's living differently. It's waking up and not organizing your day around invisible approval. It's no longer rehearsing explanations for why you're distant. It's knowing that your story still counts, even if it was never the one they printed in the family yearbook. That night, I sat at the window of my tiny apartment, warm drink in hand, the quiet hum of traffic below, and asked myself a simple question. Do I miss them? The answer surprised me. I miss the version of them I used to hope for. But not enough to go back to being the version of me they were most comfortable with. So I stayed still. And for the first time, stillness didn't mean stuck. It meant home. Not the kind built with bricks or funded with down payments, but the kind built inside your chest, from the solid weight of your own damn voice. And it was enough. It was finally enough.